So hello everyone, welcome to this very special video we have here today, the Zoom65 R2. This keyboard is very special both subjectively and objectively, and in this video we will dive deep on my experience with the Zoom65 R2, the build guide, the different configurations, and why you should consider this keyboard if you're on the lookout for your next 65% custom mechanical keyboard. So before we dive into it, guys, enjoy my photo slideshow of the Zoom65. Now, this is one gorgeous looking keyboard. Don't you agree? Especially the back plate. And this is coming from a guy who always tells you that aesthetics is the least priority when choosing keyboards. But when I got my copy of the Zoom65, boy oh boy, was I really excited and so much attracted on the design of this keyboard, especially the back piece of the keyboard. It's really nice. All right, so again, this is a review unit sent to us by Wuche Studios, by Melitrix, the sister company of Wuche, and that is one reason why this keyboard is very special for me subjectively, because this is the first keyboard that is of such category and price range that was sent over to this channel for review. And with that, my huge gratitude to all the supporters of this channel. Thank you very much. All right, with that being said, of course I will try to be as objective as possible, but do take note that this is a very subjective hobby, and everything that I say to you, please take it with a grain of salt, as these are my thoughts, opinions, and experience with the keyboard. All right, so for the full specifications, let's drop by Melitrix website. I'll put it in the description. It has everything that you need to know, the case colors, the features of the keyboard, the pricing is here as well. You have this awesome configurator over here, which lets you have an idea on how your keyboard would look like on the various combinations of options available. And the major changes of the Zoom65 R2 are the following. The top case now extends further for a seamless side profile, and that is a very nice touch. When you look at this keyboard, on the side profile, it's now a coherent one piece of metal as compared to the R1 version, wherein there's a ridge between the top and the bottom case, and I love that upgrade. It looks very much more beautiful compared to the R1. The PCB now comes with a daughter board, which is a very good upgrade, because as you can see, one of the reasons why the bounce and the flex of a mechanical keyboard is limited is because of the lack of a daughter board. Now, with the daughter board, there is more room for the PCB to play around, making most use of that gasket mounting design that this keyboard has. The third difference would be the backplate of this keyboard. This keyboard now comes with a glass backplate on the bottom, and boy oh boy, do I love it. I love it so much. It looks really nice, kind of a fingerprint magnet, but really nice. All right, and lastly, there are 3 to 4 new case colors. So if I'm not mistaken, there would be 3 to 4 new case colors, and for my keyboard I was sent over the red colorway with a white, an E-white backplate and an E-white knob, which is really good. It's really good. So those were the major changes that Melitrix informed us about, and let us see if it has made such a significant impact on the R2 and V2, R2 or V2 of the Zoom, Zoom65. With that being said, let me give you the backstory with this keyboard. The time that Zoom65 was released was about around the same time when the QK65 was released. And why did I not opt to dive into the group buy of the Zoom65? For the very simple reason that when I was watching content creators online and how they felt the keyboard was, they had a consensus that the R1 of the Zoom65 was really good. And again, bottom line would be preference, but they had a consensus that the R1 of the Zoom65 sounded kind of weak in comparison with the QK65, especially without the foam. And watching all those videos the past few days since I received my unit, I would have to agree. I thought that the Zoom65 sounded weak without the foam. The QK65 wasn't amazing without the foam, but it sounded good enough. It sounded decent, and I'm actually happy with the foamless build of my QK65. The Zoom65, on the other hand, I think it was expected. With all those flex cuts around, with all the flex cuts in the plate and in the PCB, much like the Mr. Suit, you would expect it not to be as strong without the foam. I thought that keyboards like this one, the Zoom65, the Mr. Suit by Owlabs, and even the Akko Mod 007 polycarbonate, with all those flex cut going on, their purpose was with the typing feel, the bounce, the flex, and a cohesive sound once you use all of the foams. And don't get me wrong, that's not bad. There are keyboards who are designed to sound good with the foam. And here we are now, and let's see if there have been significant changes with this unit and if those changes translate to a better R2 version of the Zoom65. Let's go to the build guide. So here we have the box with a very good Zoom label, and inside it is the carrying case, which contains everything that you need to build. Pretty standard, nothing special and fancy. So let's go through the package content. We have a black coiled cable, pretty good. We have the battery that is included in the package. And then we have the plate and PCB screws, but I almost never use those. 2 sets of rubber feet, white and black, so that's a good touch. So you have option depending on the back weight that you got. Then you have some extra case screws. You have a screwdriver. There are 2 sets, one for the case and one for the knob. A set of Wuche Studio stabilizers, and that blue thing over there are the Teflon tape mods for the Holy mod. And then you have the knob. You have all the set of foams that you would probably need and more. I think there's excessive amount of foams, and that's good, so you have options. Here are the gasket jackets that you will be using. These are foams for the lower case that you will use if you're not going to use the internal weight. And then there's the plate foam, the PCB PE foam that kind of got me nervous because all of those cuts in the PE foam, by experience, that doesn't end well for the sound. And then you have this another layer of foam for the lower case. This one goes below the PCB, under the PCB. And again, I think this is not needed for the build because the Zoom65 doesn't have that much space on the lower case. Digging further into the package, you do have the PCB, and boy oh boy, does this PCB look really nice. A lot of flex cuts. It's kind of scary because you would know that would affect the sound. Those flex cuts would cause the sound to go through them, so and it's going to be really bouncy just by looking at it. And then finally you have the plate. So this one is a polycarbonate plate. I'm not sure with Melitrix. I think they will also have other options for the plate material as with the Zoom Essential Edition. And look at those flex cuts again. So Mind you, flex cuts are a give and take. There are pros, there are cons with having that much flex cut. And finally, the last piece in the bag is your keyboard itself, the top and the bottom case assembled all together with that very neat, again, I love that Zoom65 logo. And the one I got is the scarlet red, and they sent in over the one with an internal weight. And there you can see the daughter board and of course the gorgeous back piece. Boy oh boy, I really love that back piece of this Zoom65. So there you have it. One of the most complicated builds I have ever had. I'm not sure, maybe because this is my first Melitrix Zoom65 Wuche Studio keyboard. I was really stunned. I felt like a beginner and a newbie building a keyboard. I had to go back and forth through several build videos of the R1, which is not 100% same but very similar. And I hope this build guide would be of help to you once you get your unit and decide to build your own Zoom65 R2. It's not my favorite build guide. Lots of complicated screws. You have to remove keycaps and switches for you to access the screws and remove the case. The Wuche Studio stabs are not the best or not the easiest to tune, but once you tune them, they are good. Of note is that the Wuche Studio stabs are dependent on the Holy mod. I've tried balancing it for hours and the tick simply won't go away, but lo and behold, after using the Holy mod, it was gone, and the stabs sounded really nice after doing the Holy mod. So what is also good is that The kit comes with its pre-cut tape for the Holy Mod, so I think Wuchi really knows that you have to use the Holy Mod for the stabs, right? Was it worth it? Was the somewhat difficult build worth it? Actually, it is. I was really, really impressed with the final outcome. With all those flex cuts, and even on the PE foam, the PE foam had flex cut, and I was like, oh my god, why does this have flex cut? The sound will go straight through. I was really surprised that it sounded very lively and very good. Now, there are a lot of configurations that you can do with this keyboard. On my first build, I had a very big problem with the internal weight, and it's because the wire running from the daughter board in the middle of the keyboard was interfering with the space between the internal weight and the PCB. But only to find out I was doing it wrong. Melitrix has a build guide, and you should be tucking in the wires of your daughter board in the slot over here, so that it does not get into the way of the PCB flexing and bouncing around. But with that being said, using the internal weight still kind of feels that there is not enough space on the lower case for the keyboard to really flex and bounce the most. And so there goes the dilemma. Do you want your keyboard to sound more solid, more lively? Then go ahead, use the internal weight, use all the foams, and it becomes that typical foamy sound signature, which is, I think, this keyboard's main strength. But you sacrifice some of those flex, some of those bounce. It doesn't become super stiff, it's still bouncy, it still has that vibration feeling, but you'd feel that the bottom out hits earlier compared without the internal weight. Remove the internal weight and still sounds good. I love it. I've used it without the internal weight. Very bouncy, feels like a trampoline without any of the foams, but the sound signature kind of suffers a bit. It's not bad, but I prefer and I like the sound with the internal weight more. So there you have it. You have a keyboard that looks good, feels amazing, and sounds really good as well. A 65% layout with a knob and a tri-mode connectivity. A year ago, you wouldn't even dare put Bluetooth on an aluminum case keyboard, and yet here we are now, 2023. Really amazing. The next question that we have now is, will it sound good without the foams? Because that was the main weakness of the R1 or V1 of this keyboard. And you be the judge. Here's the sound without any of the foams. what do you guys think? For me, that sounded good. Maybe not great, but it sounds good. It wasn't weak sounding, it wasn't hollow sounding for my taste. I really love the sound of this keyboard without the foam. And probably to step it up a bit, I did some of the experiments that my friend has been doing, and that is to put a thin layer of tape covering up the flex cuts on the PCB. Just a thin layer of tape, single layer of a cutout tape, around 5mm, to cover the PCB flex cuts enough so that the sound would not disperse at all, and enough to still retain that flexy, bouncy typing feel. And here is the outcome. Really, really good, right? And I've been using it in this configuration for the longest time. Amazing, amazing. Now, the question that a lot of you will probably be asking me is the Zoom65 R2 or the QK65? And to be honest, that is a question that is very hard to answer straightforward, because both keyboards are really good. Both have their strengths and weaknesses. And so if I were to answer that question, I would divide them into criteria. If we're talking about sound, I would choose the QK65 over the Zoom65. The QK simply has a better sound overall. With or without the foams, I think the QK still wins over the Zoom. That doesn't mean that the Zoom sounds bad. I just believe that the Zoom was designed to be used with most of the foams in them. And compared to the R1 version that I hear online, I think the R2 does pretty well without the foams, but it's not as strong as I would want it to be, and that is expected with the flex cuts. With that being said, I think all other criteria, the Zoom65 might have an edge over the QK65. Again, my personal preference. I love the typing feel way more than the QK65. Very comfortable, very flexy and bouncy, and it's so easy to tune the typing feel. Remove some of the foams, it becomes like a trampoline. So typing feel, hands down, it's the Zoom for me. Functionality, this has Bluetooth, and that means a lot. So I can carry this around, although it's a heavy keyboard. But if Bluetooth is important for you, then of course this win hands down. Aesthetics, again, goes for the Zoom. I love the back piece, I love the design, I simply love it. So again, QK wins on the sound, but all else being said, I think the Zoom has the edge. So that's my answer to that question. All right. So, final thoughts and conclusion. Guys, the Zoom65 V2 or round 2 is such an amazing keyboard. And considering the price point, I would highly recommend this keyboard to any of you guys there wanting to dive deeper into the mechanical keyboard hobby, wanting to purchase that first premium. Yes, some might consider this mid-tier, but it can be considered as a premium keyboard for the price. It offers a lot of features that higher tier, higher end, more expensive price keyboard offers, and it has been executed pretty well. Minus the fact that the build process is not the easiest one out there, and minus the fact that there are some issues with the internal weight and the stabilizers, all of which are, in my opinion, fixable. You have a 65% layout with the knob, a tri-mode connectivity, a very good bouncy, flexy feel that I might not dare even look for a plateless or half plate build with how this thing bounces. A good sound profile, both with all the foams or without the foam, translating into versatility, which is really good if you plan to just get a single keyboard, which honestly usually never happens. Once you get in there, it keeps on adding up. All right. That is the Zoom65 R2 for you. Really, really enjoying this. And for the first time ever, dare I say, I love the back design of this keyboard. All right. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you, Melitrix, for sending this over. Such an amazing keyboard. Really strong way to start 2023. Do check out RX003 and Cavite Tech. Awesome content creators here in the Philippines as well. There are the other guys who have been given a review unit as well, and I'm really excited to watch their contents as well. Thank you everyone for watching. Let me know in the comments if you agree to the thoughts and opinions that I have posted out there, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. And it's been an awesome experience. Road to 3,000 subscribers, just a few more hundred and we're there. Giveaway coming up this February as well. Thank you. I will see you in the next video.